Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhu Cha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vedya Brahminam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Jai Guru. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So where are we in our text?
Chapter 13, number 80.
Chapter 13, number 80.
Satchitananda Rupesmin Purne Brahmani Vikshite Swayam Evavat Janati Namarupe Shanai Shanaihi. With the direct knowledge of Brahman, the eternal existence, consciousness, and bliss, names and forms slowly come to be disregarded.
Yes. So, the mind abiding in the self begins to overwhelm our fascination with the world. For the ordinary person who has no awareness of the self, the phenomenal world feels very real, and its inherent joy-giving and misery-producing qualities are a big deal. But as a person revels more and more in the self, the mind withdraws its fascination, its extroversion into the world. Even though a person may be working in the world, and that's their product, you can feel it if their mind is jonesing, if it's serious business, if the job, if the stock market, if all that stuff is important. It doesn't matter what their God talk is. Does their mind extrovert into it? So as Shankara says, a full knower of the Supreme who has retired into the Supreme. Now, again, this is not for us to be testing other people. This is for us to have kind of a checklist for our own side. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
Yavat dhyavat स्यात् तावत् तदीक्षणं यावद्यावत् वीक्ष्यते तत्तावत् त्वजेत्. The more is duality negated, the clearer does the realization of Brahman become, and as realization becomes perfect, names and forms come to be disregarded of themselves.
Yeah. So the real operative activity is not so much trying to find or seek or discover the self. It's about vairagya, that desire to give up attachment to all experiences gained through the senses and identification with all forms of self. This is Shankara's definition. And it's done through insight. When I begin to see that it's the karma itself that is my suffering, the more I let go of the world, the easier it is to revel in the self. Samadhi becomes easy. And the more the mind can revel in the self, the more it lets go. Any thoughts on this? Next.
तद्भ्यासेन विद्यायां सुस्थितायामयं पुमान् जीवन्नेव भवेन्मुक्तो वपुरस्तु यथा तथा. When through the continuous practice of meditation a man is established in the knowledge of Brahman, he becomes liberated even while living. Then the fate of his body does not matter.
Yes. So again, it's not about, oh, if I practice and practice and practice, when I die, then I go to Swarga, I go to heaven, Punya Loka, Brahma Loka. That's not the emphasis in our tradition. It's become Jivan Mukta, liberated, right here, right now. Having liberation right here, right now. The world, like to say, trinkets and baubles, like a movie, like a hologram. Seeing, but funny. Leela, a play. And again, the more the Jnani is able to revel, the world, the volume level just gets turned down. When I was at the Jai Uttal concert on Saturday, he was talking about this one Mahatma that he knew. And I can't remember the exact question he was asking. It was not a particular Sanskrit word. And Samba, what's Samba mean?
So, longe?
I think that's what he said. What if it was the short A, Samba?
When it comes to mind.
I can't remember. It's something about the emptiness of it all. Anyway, he just asked this fellow the question, and the guy goes, and he just falls out into just samadhi for 20 minutes. And then his mind comes back and he finishes answering the question. Or Sri Ramakrishna, you just mention the word God, and out he go. You know, he couldn't help himself. That's not available to all of us. But the more time we spend having a hot date with the infinite, make time for it. And the world becomes little. I like to tell people, you know, in my youth, I was a hedonist, a real pig. Listen carefully. I still am. It's just that the world got too small. It was too little. Too much work for so little juice. Next verse.
Tachintanam tatkathanam anyonyam tatprabodhanam etadeka paratvam cha brahmabhyasam vidurbudhaha. Thinking of him. Oh, actually, wait, I think
Did you skip one?
No, I didn't. Thinking of him, speaking of him, and making one another understand him. This is what the wise call practice of Brahman realization.
Yeah, jnana, abhyasa, jnana, abhyasa. The practice of knowledge, the practice of Brahman. Swamiji used to say, reveling in the halls of Vedanta. Why is this important? Remember what I call the law of the third eye, the attentive faculty. What you look at, you're going to think about. What you look at repeatedly, you're going to think about repeatedly. Repeated thought becomes habituated thought. Habituated thought sinks into the unconscious, becomes the law of our lives. So the practice of Brahman, the practice of knowledge, practice the presence of God. Think about it, speak about it, read about it, talk about it with other people. Meditate on it. To the degree that you spend your time in those pursuits, it will bear fruit. One of the things Swamiji used to say, and used to upset people, he says, the Americans think all people are created equal. It's not true. Some people are more intelligent than others. Some have stronger bodies than others. Some are born with more privilege than others. Some have more opportunity than others. We're not created equal, except in one thing. All of us have 24 hours in a day. Nobody gets 25. Nobody's cheated. Nobody gets 23. So, what are you going to do with your time? What you spend your time in eventually ends up what creates your life. If you spend it in reveling in God, thinking about God, reading about God, sharing about God, that's the practice. On the other hand, you come to a class once a week for an hour and a half, and the rest of the week, it's the busyness of the world. No blame, but you'll probably get very good at the world. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
वासनानेककालीना दीर्घकालं निरन्तरं सादरं चाभ्ययस्माने सर्वथैव निवर्तते. The long-standing impressions of the world on the mind are loosened if the straining of knowledge is constantly practiced with earnestness for a long time.
Yes. So, how do I overcome the extroverted tendencies of the mind? Turn the mind gradually into more fruitful, dharmic pursuits. Those of us who are studying Yoga Vasishtha will get to this. I can't remember the exact way it's put out. It says in the beginning, you spend half your mind in worldly pursuits, quarter of your mind doing selfless service, and a quarter of your mind listening to the teacher. Then after some time, you take a quarter of your mind in worldly pleasures, quarter of your mind in scripture study, quarter of your mind in meditation, a quarter of your mind listening to the guru. And he keeps shifting it over time until all of your attention is an inquiry into yourself. It's an evolution, not a revolution, Swamiji used to say. Next verse.
मृच्छक्ति ब्रह्म शक्ति अनेकान नृणासृजेत् यद्वा जीवगता निद्रा स्वप्नश्चात्र निदर्शनम्. As the power inherent in the clay brings the pot into existence, so the power of Maya inherent in Brahman creates many unreal things. This is illustrated by sleep and dream conditions of living beings.
Yes, so it is the inherent Maya Shakti of the infinite that brings out the manifested, observable universe. And of course, two of the qualities that the Lord has dreamed, has manifested, has brought forth. People in ignorance and those who practice knowledge and attain liberation. Now, listen very carefully. It doesn't mean all these people are damned. They're bound to keep going around the wheel of samsara forever and ever. No. Vedanta is the most compassionate of all religions. Everybody makes it. Everybody eventually comes home to God. In the winter or in the fall, let's say the fall, the gardener prunes the rose bush all the way back. There's hardly anything there. Oh my God. Dormant through the winter. Then in the spring, things start to grow. The leaves come, then the buds come, and finally in summer, a bloom. But then at the end of the summer, petals fall off. The journey's over. So also, at least what the scriptures say, we've all started off as lower life forms and evolve through time. When we finally gain a human birth and evolve through countless lifetimes until finally the mind starts to turn towards the infinite. And that may take several lifetimes. Till finally, like the bloom at the end of the summer, game's over. The other great image is the river. The river starts in the mountains, and when it's this rushing mountain stream, it has its own inherent beauty. It comes down onto the plain, and it's wide and broad, and it has a different kind of beauty. Then eventually enters the sea. River, it's gone. Inevitable. And if you screw up enough, it hurts so bad. Karma itself pushes you back onto the path. Nobody is lost ever. We can look at people who seem to have terrible lives, terrible character. Oh. Christians may say he's going to hell. But the yogi says, no, just a work in progress. Just a work in progress. They too are on their way home. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
Nidra shakteryatha jive durghat swapna karini brahmendyesha sthita maya srishti sthityanta karini. Just as in the sleeping state, a power inherent in the jiva gives rise to impossible dreams, so the power of Maya inherent in Brahman projects, maintains, and destroys the universe.
Yes. So I frequently like to say, I use kind of reverse the metaphor. You are the god of your dream. Same process by which Brahman brings about this whole Jagat. We reenact microcosmically in the dream state. You clearly understand the dream, you'll understand all of this. Just as it is your one mind that creates the dream body, the dream ego, the dream phenomenal world, the dream interior world of thoughts and feelings. All of it is nothing but my mind. There's no real otherness. This is no different. Just as nothing in the dream touches you, the waker. Nothing in this world touches Brahman. Which means nothing in this world touches you. Next verse.
Swapne viyat gatim pashyet swamurdhaschedanam yatha muhurte vatsa raudham cha mritputradika kampunaha. In dream, a man may see himself flying in the sky or being beheaded. In a moment, he may live through the experience of many years, or he may dream of seeing a dead son and so forth.
So we have in the dream its own internal logic. You have a flying dream, it seems logical. There's an assumed cause and effect. If you get beheaded in a dream, can you walk around without a head? Or you see a dead relative, maybe a parent, in a dream. How did they come back to life in the dream? Or fantastic things. But all of it's just created by the mind, which creates time, space, and name and form. This is no different. Just as the laws of the dream are only immutable to that particular dream. If I have a flying dream on Monday, that doesn't mean I can fly on Wednesday. So the apparent cause and effect in this world, it's just that. It appears. In fact, it's being created now. Next verse.
Idam yuktam idam neti vyavastha tatra durlabha yatha yathekshayate yadhyat tattadhyuktam tatha tatha. Quote, this is proper, possible, and this is not, end quote. Such discrimination is not possible then. Whatever one perceives in dreams seems to be in the right place.
Yes. So if you're flying in the dream, you probably don't have the thought, this is impossible.
So wouldn't you say the logic is, I'm sorry, cause and effect is perceived because it's never questioned. So
that's a good point. Yes. It's assumed.
it's assumed, right? And that's true even of the waking state.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we've, of course, even in this relative reality, come up with all sorts of cause and effects that aren't really there. I mean, you read a history book about Europe 500 years ago, and disease was caused by an imbalance in the humors. What they did was bleed people. Seemed logical to them.
Or even lobotomy and things like that.
What was the term I read in this one book? Laudatory pus. So they used to think infection where pus would happen, that was a good thing. It was taking the poisons out of the body. All very strange. All right, next one.
ईदृशो महिमा दृश्यो निद्राशक्तैर्यदा तदा मायाशक्तैर्चिन्तयोऽयं महिमेति किमद्भुतम्. When such is the glory of the power of sleep and dream, what is there to wonder at the unimaginable glory of the power of Maya?
So we see such powers of the mind when I fall asleep and have a dream. And that's very small compared to the power of Maya. And it gets absolutely mind-boggling when you start to watch like YouTube videos on astrophysics and things about inflation theory, what happened before the Big Bang, and the event horizon and a black hole and spooky entanglement at a distance and the relative nature of the movement of time. I mean, it just makes your mind go. How do you grasp all this stuff? And we say that the universe is what, 13.8 billion years old? And the reason we say that is because that's as far back as we can perceive objects with visible light. There may be something that existed before, but there's absolutely no way for the light of those objects to be perceived. Absolutely unverifiable. What else is out there? Such as the infinite power of God, the potentiality of all possibilities. Next one.
Khani lagni jalo vyanda lokapranī shiladikaha vikara prani dhishvanta chichaya pratibimbita. Akasha, air, fire, water, earth, the universe, the different lokas, worlds, and animate and inanimate objects are appearances produced by Maya. Pure consciousness appears as a reflection in the intellects of living beings.
Yes. So, in the intellects of living beings, this phenomenal world appears. Chit Chaya. Just like reflections in a mirror. or the images in the quartz crystal wall. What is this universe in reality? Vijnana Ganam, a homogeneous mass of consciousness. Kutastha, still, immovable. Nothing really moves. What's real, Sat, is Baba, being, and it never changes. Next verse.
Chetana Chetaneshveshu Satchidanandalakshana Samanam Brahma Bhidyete Namarupe Prithak Prithak. Brahman, characterized as existence, consciousness, and bliss, is the common basis of both the animate and inanimate objects. They differ only in their names and forms.
Yes. So I may look over there at Puneet, who seems like a being, and I look at the sofa. I think that's just an inanimate object, a thing. But from Puneet's standpoint, your body is an object of perception. Your body is not inherently sentient. You are sentient. So just because that body moves doesn't mean that body is a sentient being. There is a sentient being, but it is the substratum of both the sofa and the puneet. All that differs is Nama, name and form. Sofa doesn't have a mind. I think Puneet has a mind. The Puneet body is metabolizing. The sofa doesn't have much rajas anymore. Oh. But the material cause of both is consciousness. Next one.
Brahman yete namarupe pate chitram iva sthite upeksha namarupe dve satchidananda dhir bhave. Just as many objects are seen in a picture, so the various names and forms exist in Brahman. By negating both names and forms, one can understand that what remains is existence, consciousness, and bliss.
So you have a canvas, and the artist paints a crowd scene with his acrylics or his oil paints. It's just color placed on a canvas, but it looks like individual. The substratum is pain. This is no different. The mad artist paints with extravagance. Go watch a sunset or the movement of the sky in a storm, or the magnificence of a Himalayan peak, and the incredible beauty of flowers. There are little birds that nest every year outside. I think they have a nest built in the side of the house. And I'm pretty sure the eggs have hatched. Because in the morning, chirpy, 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 chirpy. Just another one of the Lord's just most wonderful. But his canvas is himself. Next one.
जलस्थे धौमुखे स्वस्य देहे दृष्टे प्युपेक्षितं तीरस्थ एव देहे स्वे तात्पर्यं स्याद्यथा तथा. Even though a man standing on the bank of a river sees his body reflected upside down in the water, he nevertheless identifies himself with his own body on the shore. Similarly, an aspirant after realization of Brahman should know himself as Brahman.
Yes. So, the foolish person, I mean, better image is you see many animals like dogs and things like that. And if you lean a mirror up and on the floor, the dog thinks there's another dog and will start barking at the dog. And then when that dog barks back, they escalate. You ever seen them do that?
Mm-hmm.
But some animals can recognize that that's a reflection. Elephants, by the way, can do that. People can do that. They know that what they see in the mirror is just a reflection. Likewise, fool sees the names and forms and thinks they're real. Sees the body, thinks that's himself. But the man of wisdom, they're just like reflections in a mirror, reflections in a lake. Just like when you're looking at your reflection in the lake and a breeze comes up, ah, I've been shattered, because the image starts to ripple. No one does that. You and I. Oh, I'm losing my hair. Oh, I've got a illness. Oh, gloom and doom in the world. Stock market's going down. Interest rates are going up. They're all upset because we forget that vijnana dhanam, the homogeneous mass of consciousness, which is this world, Next one.
सहस्रो मनुराज्ये वर्तमाने सदैव तत् सर्वैरूपेक्षते तद्वत् उपेक्षा नाम रूपयोः. Just as in daydreaming, people see thousands of mental pictures, but in the practical world they disregard them all. So should names and forms be disregarded.
Yes. So, have you ever had conversations with people who aren't in the room? When you're taking your shower in the morning, are you having a conversation with your boss? Have you ever done that? Or you had an argument with someone, they hurt your feelings, and you're out on a walk, and you know, okay, you may have walked halfway around the lake having a conversation with someone who wasn't there. And then you come out of it and you come back to what's really here in this phenomenon. Disregard your daydream, your fantasy. So also, person, the man of perfection, can interact with the world. But at a moment, he just drops it. Because it's not real. My thoughts aren't real. My opinions aren't real. No personal sense of self is real. Brahma Satya. Brahma is real. Jana Mithya. Next one.
शने शने मनोराज्यं भवत्येवान्यथा यथा गतं गतं पुनः नास्ति व्यवहारो बहिस्तथा. Different mental creations are formed every moment, while those which pass are lost forever. The objects of the practical world should be looked upon similarly.
Yes, this fundamental impermanence of the mental world and the physical, the phenomenal world. Whatever thoughts you were thinking 10 minutes ago, gone. So also, yesterday doesn't exist. What you may have is a memory, and if you do, the memory's in the now. Let it all go. No regret, no rejoicing over the past, no concern for the future. Seeing intensity in the now. Next one.
न बाल्यं यौवने लब्धं यौवनं स्थारिवेय तथा Mrita pita punar nasti, nayatyeva gatam dinam. Childhood is lost in youth, and youth is lost in old age. The father once dead does not return. The day which is past never comes back.
Just a poetic restatement of the same thing he said. Fundamental impermanence of everything, gross and subtle. Why grieve over the inevitable? Going on.
Manorajyat visheshaka shanadhvassani laukike atosmin bhasamanepi tat satyatva dhriyam tvajet. How do the objects of the practical world, which are destroyed every moment, differ from the forms created by the mind in imagination? Though they appear, the idea of their reality should be given up.
The idea of what?
Of their reality should be given up.
Yes. So the mental world is no more real than the phenomenal world. They're actually not any different. The jagat, the physical world, is just a grossified form of mind. That's all it is. Nothing but vibration held together by thought. Remember our law of sankalpa. A sankalpa that's consistently maintained, that isn't contradicted, tends towards grossification, is the proper word. Meaning it appears as a thing. I have to work on this with some of my AA sponsees who want to say, make what they call a Cartesian split. Oh no, the fear is in my body, not my mind. My mind's just fine. It's in my body. I say, no. Your body and your mind are not separate. It's just a subtle and gross form of the same thing. Both are fundamentally unreal. Going on.
Upekshite laukike dhinirvigna brahmachintane natavatkriti masthayam nirvahatyeva laukikam. When the objects of the world are disregarded, the mind freed from obstacles rests in the contemplation of Brahman. Then, like an actor, a wise man is engaged in worldly concerns with assumed faith and so is not affected by them.
Yes. So we go through a period of intense detachment and renunciation. Some of us may need to go through a period of withdrawal from the world, entering into an ashram or into a period of private reflection and study. But then in some way we return to the world. I like to say you put the body, mind, intellect, the robot, the android, you just push the automatic pilot button. Have no concern for it. It will do its product, its behavior. Just like you have no concern for your shadow, whether it is long or short. Mind engages on the surface with the world, but there's no investment in the world. Like reading a good book, watching a movie. Next.
प्रवह्यप्यपि निरेद्ध स्थिरा प्रौढशैला यथा नामरूपाण्यथा त्वेपि कूटस्थं ब्रह्म नान्यथा. As the big rock lying in the bed of a river remains unmoved, though the water flows over it, so also, while names and forms constantly change, the unchanging Brahman does not become otherwise.
Yes. Wonderful image. Rock in the river is there and the water flows by. The other image I like is the cyclone. You are like the center. Oh, moves around. You are kutastha. Still. Immovable. And the ground of being of the universe is still and immovable. Next one.
निषिद्धे दर्पणे भाति वस्तु गर्भं बृहद्वयत् सच्चित् धने तथा नाना जगद्गर्भम् idam viyat. As the sky with all its contents is reflected in a flawless mirror, so the Akasha with all the universe within it is reflected on the one partless Brahman, who is nothing but absolute consciousness and existence.
Yes. So you can go up to the top of Twin Peaks, face west, hold up a hand mirror, and if you tilt it this way, you see the entire downtown of San Francisco inside the little mirror. Or if you hold it this way, the whole sky is in the mirror. So also in the partless Brahman. All this appears like a reflection. Pratibimba. Next one. How many more in this chapter? Are we getting close to the end?
Yeah, like 4 more.
Okay, then I think we'll probably end a little bit early tonight.
दृष्ट्वा दर्पणं नैव तदन्तस्थे क्षणं तथा अमत्वा सच्चिदानन्दं नामरूपम् इति कुतः. Without seeing the mirror, it is impossible to see the objects reflected in it. Similarly, wherefrom can there be any knowledge of names and forms without a knowledge of their substratum, which is existence, consciousness, and bliss?
Yes. So, when we talk about what is the means of knowledge for knowing the self, the phenomenal world is known through the triple factor, knower, knowing, and known. But you do not see, hear, taste, touch, smell, emote, or think yourself, yet you know you are. Yourself is Swayambhu, Swayam Jyoti, self-evident, self-luminous. The self of is its own praman, its own means of knowledge. Listen carefully. When the triple factor is functioning, I, Jim, through seeing, know the sofa, that is still just the self-evidence of Brahman. Self-effulgence. No other knower. There is no other knowing. There is nothing else to be known. What is this world? Vijnana Ghanam, homogeneous mass of consciousness. That's all it is. Next one.
I guess the implication of this verse is that something that is like, I guess your sense of taste can only be known if there is something to taste. Like when there's nothing to taste, you probably don't even know that you have it.
Well, even more than that, to whom did the taste occur?
Right.
It has to be illumined by something.
Right. So that's why the sense objects or the senses itself are not conscious. Like there's something.
And more than that, you know, if a tree falls in the forest and there's no one there to hear it, does it make any sound?
Mhm. Right.
The whole point that Vedanta says is existence can only be predicated if there's a knower. It even goes so far to say the knowing of it, literally what brings it into existence.
And non-existence too, in some can be known.
Yes, which is the absence of a name and form.
Right. Which is where the, I guess, Buddhists get confused.
I don't know, I'm not a Buddhist. You're a Buddhist, I'm not a Buddhist. Going on.
Prathamam Satchidanande Bhasamaneth Tavata Buddhim Niyamba Naivaidhyam Dharaye Nama Rupayoho. Having learned of Brahman as existence, consciousness, and bliss, one should fix the mind firmly on him and should restrain it from dwelling on names and forms.
Yes. So simple. Viveka Vairagya. Firm conviction in the intellect. Brahman alone is real. Phenomenal world is illusory. Is known as discrimination between the real and the unreal. Then comes vairagya, that desire to give up attachment to the unreal. Fix the mind on what's real. What's real? Aham Brahmasmi. I am Atma Brahma. This self is Brahma. All right, next one.
Evam cha nirjagat brahma satchidananda lakshanam advaitananda etasmin vishramanyantu Jashriram. Thus, Brahman is realized as existence, consciousness, and bliss, and devoid of the phenomenal universe. May all people find rest in this secondless bliss of Brahman.
So when I know that the self in me is Brahman, I'm freed from existential fear. When I know that this phenomenal world is Brahman, and that the names and forms are mithya, then I give up the extroversion of the mind into the world. And the mind settles down. We have what he used earlier in the book, Brahmananda Rasa Swad, the tasting of the juice of the bliss. Is that the last one?
One more.
One more.
Brahmananda bhide granthe tritiyodhyaya iritah advaitananda evam syat jaganmithyatva chintaya. In this third chapter of the section called The Bliss of Brahman is described the bliss of non-duality, which is to be obtained by meditating on the unreality of the world.
Yes. So we have to meditate on the unreality of the world. The fact that I think the world is real is just a habit. It is contracted, concentrated thought. That's all it is. Meditate on the dreamlike nature of the world, the unreality of the world. Koham, who am I? I am Brahman. What is this world? Brahman. How the names and forms come about? By means of imagination. Those are the three things to focus on. All right, we'll end here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om.